How's it going, everybody? Welcome again to another episode of the. Do we have a name for this thing yet? Let's just call it the calibration podcast for right now, or the Friday Tech Talk, right? Something like that. How you
Oh,
doing, Tyler?
good, man. Good. I like Tech Talk. Tech Talk works, man.
There we go,
What it's
man.
all
There we
about.
go.
Technology
Ex-
and technology is empowerment.
Yay!
That's what we're doing right now.
Knowledge, technology, mix that together, unstoppable. How you doing, Hector?
I'm doing well, man. It was a busy week, but we're you know, talking about like new updates. Talking with Tyler about what's coming with connected investors. Today he's gonna express one of the main features of connected investors, which is the comp section and the calculation section. They have AI integrated machine learning, and they have like a really good technology that runs comps, and of course they have the data that is gonna be loyal to those computations. So he's gonna express this super class for connected investors and our community. So, so a little bit more on that, Tyler, as an
Yeah, no,
introduction.
like it's pretty much the nail on the head. You know, you think about comping. Comping is probably one of the scariest, most challenging thing for people who are brand new to figure out.
Yeah,
Right? Everybody refers to it as it's an art form and it's science. And if you don't get your numbers right, you are literally gonna either leave money on the table that you could have gotten a greater offer on, or you're gonna lose your shirt because you overestimated something and now you're stuck on this deal that you can't get rid of because you committed to something that isn't realistic.
yeah,
Right. So this whole thing about comping is showing how we can actually take that technology and make it to use the data to produce what is real comping. So the brand new user can feel confident comping properties for the very first time, and that the experienced user is doing things faster, right? Because speed is everything. Like you could spend hours trying to comp something and figuring out if this is good or this is not, and going here, going there, going all
yeah.
these different locations, try to find the data. Instead, you're going to have it all in one place, and it's going to be done with technology and automation and AI to produce what we call a comp score. So the term that we refer to it as is auto comping. So pretty
Uh,
cool.
Auto comping. That's really good. I think I'm gonna have a lot of questions into this class.
I love
But yeah, Julio, what do you think about like in the real world, in real estate, the practical world, how important and how many times in a day you run comps, bro?
No, and I've always said I think getting underwriting down packed is probably the most powerful tool or skill that you can do, and this does have the work for you, right, or most of the work for you. So if I can put an address in there, get comparables, get an ARV, get the rehab calculator, get all this, get my maximum allowable offer, and I can get this property underwritten in 5 minutes or less, then it's a home run, because that means I can put in 30, 40 offers a day, right?
Right.
And the real estate's a numbers game, right? Numbers game. If I'm sending out 6 offers a week, I'm getting no deals, right? I might get one deal a year. But if I'm sending out 300 offers a week, I'm going to get at least one or two deals a week, right? So I think it's definitely a numbers game. This is going to take it to the next level. So I'm excited to see what Tyler's going to be showing us today, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you guys want to just jump into it, or do you guys have a
Sure.
way that you want to lead into it? Like, where
No, no,
what
I
works best for your audience?
I say let's go with it, man. I say we
Let's
go with
do
it.
it.
Any questions? If anybody has any questions, please let
Yeah,
us know in the
please.
comments. Also let us know where you guys are visiting from, what city, what state would be awesome. And please share this live with anybody that you know that's interested in real estate, right? So
Cool.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, so
So
I've got my
yeah,
screen sharing. If you guys want to go ahead and
yeah, add the
pull it
screen.
up,
Yep.
and then feel free as questions come up. If I'm not reading them, you guys stop me, pause me, bring it up. Let's talk through it. But
Perfect.
last time we had this conversation, we talked about finding the motivation, right? And so just to kind of reiterate on that, the whole system is focused on allowing you to find motivated sellers, right?
Yeah.
I'm pulling a list right now very quickly and simply of just looking in Charlotte, North Carolina for pre-foreclosures that are single family owner occupied and they have 70% or more equity on their property. So they have equity, right? And I've got 84 leads. Not a lot, but
Okay.
I'm looking for pre-foreclosure. Pre-foreclosure is still all-time lows. Like yes,
Now,
they're creeping up a little bit right now, but they're not massive. Go ahead.
awesome. So, question on that, because I did get some questions. We had a class with about 70 people on it on Tuesday night, and we were looking at whether when we're stacking them, like list stacking like that, is it going to be pre foreclosure and
No,
vacant properties, or is
nope.
it or vacant properties?
It's or. So the reason
Okay.
why is because they're both motivations to sell, right? The fact that it's vacant is a motivation. The fact that it's in foreclosure is a motivation. When you take all of these different motivations and try to put them on top of each other, you'll see your like audience or your target market get really, really,
The
really small.
results.
Because like it's the needle in the haystack, right? I want the person who's got blue hair, who's got red eyes, who's got orange fingers, who's got this. It's so many little granular details that you end up with like only 2 records, or maybe there's no properties that match that criteria. But all of them are motivations. So remember when I was saying that motivation in our system is all there. Everything we're targeting is motivation to sell. The stacking component is the buyability score. So once you pull what motivations you're targeting, your buyability puts them in order of which ones you put the most energy toward, right? That's what it's all about. So if you want pre-foreclosure or vacant, those are 2 separate things. Now, there are ways that you can get to a pre-foreclosure and vacant, right? So I could come in and say, I want a vacant property. I'm just going to switch this around and go to vacant property only. And then I'm going to come down here and say, I want it to have a active pre-foreclosure, right? And so what it's looking for then
Okay.
is a vacant property that is in pre-foreclosure. So you can get there in a different way, but when you're talking about motivations, you're looking at all motivations, right? So like the fact that I want pre-foreclosures or vacant, give me more leads. You literally just said it yourself. It is a numbers game. I need more properties that are motivated to sell. I get my list of all the different motivations that I'm trying to target. They're all in that list. So it's vacant, it's got pre-foreclosure. The ones that are vacant and pre-foreclosure will have a higher score. The ones that are
Yep.
vacant, pre-foreclosure, and have a property lien are going to have a higher score. The ones that have been owned longer, the ones where the owner lives out of state, the ones that are like the list goes on and on and on in terms of identifying the list, bringing the records that are the most motivated to the top.
Gotcha.
Does that
Question
make
there.
sense?
Yeah, makes sense, total sense. But I have a question based on what you said about the viability score. For example,
Mhm.
if I have two filters, 2 labels, right? The system wouldn't know whether for one property these 2 labels apply as and or, but the viability score would know that, right?
Correct.
As
100%.
as a higher motivation that if the viability score scores higher, that means that probably it is an and
Yeah,
if it is
100%.
scores lower, probably it's an or, right?
100%.
Now,
So
what
go ahead.
what I think would be super cool in the future is to be able to do a toggle, because there's times when you want to get super niche on the list, and if it could be a toggle between like most of the time you're gonna be going with the and, right, or you're gonna go with the
Yep.
or, but there's sometimes where you want a super niche list for whatever reason that is in a specific area, and it would be cool to do it. So if it was a
Yeah, we
toggle
thought about
option, it
it.
would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we've thought about it for
So
sure. The only reason that we didn't really focus on it was because we don't want to make too many people confused. So if we find a way to
yeah.
roll it out in the right way that keeps people to understand,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
people, if you ask them like, is this an and or an or? They're like, what do you mean? They don't understand what that means.
Yeah.
But people who have done lists understand what that kind of
Yeah.
component is. So what I'm going
Gotcha.
to do is I'm just going to focus on these properties are, single family, owner occupied. They've got 70% or more equity, and they're facing foreclosure, so they're in pre-foreclosure, right? So I've just got a list of properties. These are the
Gotcha.
leads that I want to now go after. I've got 84 leads, and again, the buyability score is there, so I can see which ones are higher versus lower. And as we talked about, Hector, or as you were just mentioning, the score takes into account this is a pre-foreclosure tax delinquent, it's owned by a senior, and it's free and clear, right? This one right here, pre-foreclosure tax delinquent, was listed but isn't listed anymore. senior owner, free and clear, they have the same type of data scoring. But, again, it comes down to like what other attributes are there. And we take into account how long the property's been owned. We take into account of the amount of equity that actually exists. We actually take into account how far away the owner is to the proximity of the property. Like there's so many things that go into the calculation of the score to establish it. But what you're seeing is literally a property where, okay, this one isn't a failed listing, but it is a pre-foreclosure. It is tax delinquent, but it was never listed trying to be sold. And it's not free and clear. It just has high equity, right? So you're seeing it
That's a good list.
that data to identify it. And then the goal is that you come into the property and you get it to where they call you back and you market to it and they say, hey, yeah, I'm interested. And you now are looking at the data to quickly determine, okay, you own this property free and clear. So that probably means that you're facing a foreclosure due to a tax default because, again, you see tax delinquency. It's not a mortgage default. Mortgage defaults are different than tax defaults. That's why you can have 100% equity. The property's paid off, but they're not paying their property taxes. So they can still go into default for that. And that tells you right here. So you're seeing all of that insight and all that data. And so once you get into a property and you now see all the information that's there, we give you this estimated value. This estimated value has no idea what condition this property's in. It is considered what's called an AVM. AVM stands for Automated Valuation Model. And all that does is it takes everything that's sold nearby that are similar properties, so like comps, but it doesn't visualize them in any way. All it does is take the data, crunches that, looks at sales comps, it looks at assessed values, it looks at a home price index, and it tries to establish what value could I potentially put on this property as what I think it's worth based on what's selling, right? But it's not the condition.
Got you.
Only you, the user, can understand condition of a property. Even AI can't really recognize condition because they're just looking at that box of a picture, right? The kitchen may look amazing, but then the other rest of the house doesn't. You never know what it is until you actually go evaluate the property, get them to send you pictures, you go see the property, you understand what it is you're trying to run comps against. So when you get into our comp section, the biggest thing about this is how fast it works, right? So I pulled up a property, I went to comps, I immediately have the top 10 comps. So what we do is this auto comp component, right? And what that means is that we are already taking the data and crunching it against the subject property information. So the property characteristics of the subject property, that's all right here, right? All the subject property data. We also have all the subject property data under our attributes section, right? So any piece of information we have, we are using to identify comparables. And the comparable goes and looks at distance of the property. So how far away is this sale versus where the subject property is located? How long ago was the sale? And all the characteristics. And what we do is we establish the score. And you can actually see what we're comparing based on the red and green arrows. So you're really seeing instantly the top 10 comps. Again, we don't know the condition. We're just looking at the properties that are sold. And based on the data, these are the top 10 because we're taking the score based on all of the different attributes and scoring it to establish the highest to the lowest numbers. Now, everybody always asks, and I've had
question, Tyler.
Yeah, go for
it. So sorry to interrupt. You mentioned that Connected Investors has an AI that recognizes the property's condition of just the pictures, right?
No,
because there's no other way.
I mentioned that there is no AI that can do that. Right, AI is starting to try to get recognition of photos and identifying what's there, but it is so problematic. I've still seen people that have done things that say stainless steel and it was a reflection off of a white appliance because of the photo. Like your photo has to be perfect for it to recognize what's there, and so it's that technology is still coming. Right, it's not great, but they're working on it. But we're giving you, the user, access to information to be able to see the photos while you're comping. So that's the benefit of being able to have a system that can render all the comps. And again, first it takes a look at the data. So we have all the sales data on all the properties because we have all the public record transaction information. So you're seeing these are all the sales that took place, and we give you 50 comps. We put the top 10 up here as the selected ones that run a value based on. So this is taking the average price per square foot of all the properties that have been selected in these top 10, multiplying it by the subject property square footage, and you get your calculation, right? This is not an ARV because I have not gotten to the ARV yet, but you can
Correct.
convert this to an ARV very quickly. So right now, I have 10 properties that are the best comps. And what I've struggled with a lot of people is trying to explain what AutoComp is versus what the other companies are doing out in the marketplace.
We're so used to
It's
like the
very
old school,
difficult.
like we're so used to like just like something, but that's not gonna ever it is subject
It's
is personal,
subjective.
right?
It's subjective
Yeah,
because
it's
again,
subjective.
what all these other
But
systems
what this
do is
system
they put hard-coded
what this
filters.
system is yeah, sorry. Yeah, what this system is doing is, and I think this is a brand new thing, right? Like no other system is
Brand
doing
new.
this, like the
No one
auto
does this.
comping. Auto comping is an extra tool. It's not like telling you this is the true like ARB as you said. It's just an extra tool that gives you information way quicker, way faster. Great.
Yeah.
And then you have the list of properties that are the comps where users can actually manage, right? Like what is it in the list of properties down below?
Yeah, so we give you the data to help you understand what's the real differences when you're running a comp, right? So we give you identifying if it's stories, is it one or two? We give you, bathroom count, bedroom count, total rooms, if it's available. You get the square footage, you get the sale price, you get the sale date, you get the distance right up here, so you can see the distance. You get zoning, you get how many units if it's a multi-unit building. You get lot size. You can see the lot difference, and the idea behind it is that, like, if you were to look at this data by itself, right, and pretend it's just that big spreadsheet that you get on everybody else's system, and they say here's 30 comps, you have to now decide which ones are better than others. And you have to literally look at the fields of here's my subject property, here's the bedroom count, here's the square footage, here's what's the distance of this property versus this property, what's like you're literally comparing those fields. Whereas, boom, the comparison's done and you see it. And we've already taken those comparisons and plugged them into the score. So that way you're looking at the top scored comps of the best property to the lowest scored comp, which is the least best property. And what I'm trying to kind of get to is when you go to any competitor or any comping engine, you have to put in very specific filters, right? So you have to say, give me all the properties that sold within a half mile that sold within the last 6 months that are plus minus 30% square feet, right? That 30% has a hard coded number of minimum to maximum. That date has a hard coded date to when that date range stops. That distance has that same thing. We take all of that out of the equation. We don't care. We go and pull all the properties that are in the area. Obviously, we're not going to go 2 states over and grab a property. You're never going to see a comp from another state. You're never going to see a comp. You could potentially see it in another county because you're right on the border, but that county score would push it way down. So it wouldn't be high. So remember, the score is taking into account every aspect of the property itself. Distance is taken into the score. Time frame is taken into the score. So a property that sold yesterday is going to be a higher score than a property that sold 4 years ago. So all of that stuff of what's done in your head, and when you're looking at a spreadsheet and everybody's going analysis paralysis and going cross-eyed because all the data looks the same, we're doing that in a second. And when you go to these systems, the biggest differentiator is when you have those hard-coded filters, what if a property was 0.0001 mile further than that half mile? And that was the perfect comp, and it was just there. But because of that 0.001, you had a half mile. The system goes, oh, nope, it's over, throw it out. You as a user would have to know, I have to check, I have to check, I have to check, I have to keep checking to make sure that I'm not missing something. Same thing with the plus minus square footage, right? 30%. What if it was 1 square foot different, above or below that 30%? What if it was one day beyond that 6 months? All of that stuff is just thrown out the window, and we're looking at all the properties in the area that's sold and establishing a score on them, and then returning the top 50 based on the highest score down, and you get the top 10 right here. Literally
cool.
comping done in seconds for any user that's ever done comping. Super simple, super easy. And now I can work off this data to establish, what am I trying to comp? Am I trying to comp an ARV? Am I trying to comp a current condition to buy? For an ARV, all I have to do is sort by sale price, highest to lowest. And now all I'm doing is taking the records that are the oldest or the lowest ones in the top 10, right? Again, I'm still looking at my top 10, and I'm taking those away to where I get to maybe 3 comps. And you see how every time I did it, the valuation changed. So now I have an ARV of this property. This property, based on properties that are the best comps that sold, are producing this value of an ARV based on price per square foot.
And what is that? Because we can't. It's a little bit hard for us to see back here.
So sorry, that's $1,430,082 for this property in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Got you.
So you can see that value is there. Now, those properties that I took off aren't gone. They just get pushed down to these additional comps. So I can look at these additional comps and decide, oh, wait, I like this other one better. I want to bring it up based on the data that I'm looking at. So if I want to bring it back, I hit the plus sign, and boom, it's right back on the list. So it gives you the flexibility of being able to really control what it is you're looking at. If I wanted to export this to a spreadsheet, I can go in and just do actions, export the properties, and I can get all of those properties, the additional and the primaries.
That's cool.
Right? So I get them in a spreadsheet. That way I have the data to kind of work with if I want to play with it in Excel and all that good stuff. But I now have, let me take that other one off again. I now have an ARV, right? $1,430,082.
And it took you how long? If you weren't explaining it, you could do it like what, a minute, 2 minutes?
Less than a minute. Like
exactly.
If I know what I'm looking for, I come in and I literally just, I look at the photos and I can confirm it because again, I have the photos here. So I can see that this property is fixed up. It's super clean. Everything's good. I can go to this property. This one doesn't really have any photos back from the MLS because remember I mentioned there's some that the MLS allows access to and some that they don't. But when you have something that you can, we show you, right? But it was listed on the MLS.
That's cool.
But you can see it sold for 1.4, 1.4, 1.3. And with every aspect of it, I can look to see if there's photos. This one had photos. These ones got removed.
Okay. And as far as see, and that's what I'm talking about, speed to lead, right? You want to get an offer to somebody ASAP. So while other people are still analyzing, we're sending offers. We're not overthinking it. Because here's the reality of the thing. You send 1,000 offers, you're gonna get 10 people that says yes. Out of those 10 people, you're gonna have 3 that actually sign the contract, right?
Exactly.
And while we don't want to spend, the problem is that most people will spend 20, 30, 40 minutes, even an hour underwriting a deal before they send an offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why would you do that when the odds are that most of them are going to say no, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, get this done, send the offer, and then if you want to go do a deeper dive, once they say yes, once you got to sign contract, then do it, right?
Mm-hmm. But I've got this, and now to get an offer, right? Like I've got this value, ARV is 1.4 million. I'm a wholesaler, right? I'm not going to be doing the development work, but I got enough experience to be able to guesstimate like maybe price per square foot of repairs. All you have to do is come down to our calculator section. We've got an MAO calculation. Now, because this isn't the right estimated value, because I'm looking at an ARV and I've done my comps, I'm just going to plug this value that I just pulled. So 1,430,082, right? 30,082. That's my new ARV, right? So this is the ARV of the value that I'm looking at for an investor buying this, or an investor, once they bought it from me, reselling it for, right? So that's the final value. I know this property is 3,195 square feet. What's the repair level? Is it minor? Is it moderate? Is it major? We've got some guesstimates in here about price ranges of price per square foot. So it's minor, $25, moderate, $45, major, $65. But I might just want to say, hey, you know what? I think it's $45 a square foot. I may want to say, hey, this is going to be a $40,000 repair, right? I can do any entry that I want, and it runs the calculations off what that's going to be based on me knowing what it is that I'm looking at. I don't know what repair the property needs. You as the user does. Now, if you don't know how much a repair is going to cost, that's where you start to talk to contractors. You start to learn to be able to make better offers, because when you're doing an MAO, you have to account for the cost that the investor is going to have to put into this property. And what you're doing in this system, what right now is I'm literally building an offer plan that helps me establish what I need to get this property to contract for to make my assignment fee, right? So I look at this property, and let's just do this as a real, moderate $45. Let's just say it's $40 a square foot, right? So it's $127,000 repair cost. And I want to make, as an assignment fee, let's just say I want to make $20,000, right? It's my assignment fee. That means at maximum, the max offer that I want to make to a homeowner is this price. Obviously, I'm going to want to start lower, but at what margin do I want to start lower to try to make more than 20 grand? But at minimum, my minimum 20 grand is going to be accounted for here. So if I could get this property under contract for $944,000, I'm going to find an investor and make that investor an offer of saying, hey, I'll sell you this property for $964,000. I make my 20 grand. I'm then showcasing to the investor, hey, yeah, if you buy this for $964,000, you put about $127,000 into it, your ARV is going to be X, your profit is going to be this.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
That's
literally,
awesome.
I now have my number of exactly what it is that I'm going to talk to a cash buyer or an investor to get them to buy my deal. I got it under contract. Here's what it is. Obviously, if I get it under contract for less, that's just going to increase my assignment fee. Anything less than this amount increases my assignment fee, but everything after this price is what the investor is going to make.
That's awesome. And obviously, like you said, you don't want to be at that price, right? If your MAO it's 944, you want to start about, I would say, 5 to 7% lower than what your MAO, right? So
Yeah, this
at
is your max allowable offer.
yeah.
You do
So
not
I would
want
probably start at
this.
like 894 or something like that, and let them push you up from there, right?
Exactly. And that's what, again, every investor is different. We can't anticipate what they want to where they want to start at, but we do know where you need to stop at. So you make your 20 grand no matter what. Because if you
Cool.
want to make 20 grand, we're telling you where to stop.
Okay,
Anything
perfect.
anything before that, you make more.
Got you. That's cool. I like it,
So,
man. I like it.
and then check this out. So let's just say I ran this calculation, and the guy's like, yeah, why don't you run some numbers and call me back next week? Right. So I ran these numbers, I got this calculation. I don't have to save this to a spreadsheet. I don't have to write it down. I can literally just do save calculation. And what I'm going to do is I'm literally just saying 20K MAO or 20K. Let's do assignment. And we'll do 127.8K repair is what was the value that we put in here? Oh yeah, 1430082 ARV. Save. So I'm literally labeling it kind of what it is, and I just saved it. Now I've got that calculator, and those numbers stay locked onto this property. I can create different scenarios that I may want to think about or be aware of, or just have for reference for when I'm actually talking to him about the numbers I ran. And then when he comes and says, well, how did you get to that value? The investor goes, what comps did you pull? I could save those properties. I click save comps tables. And when I save the comps table, next time I come back, if those properties haven't resold yet again, they will be available as a comp to reference. So we're keeping those comps of what you ran it for and make it accessible. That's what it's all about, is that you are able to save that information and have access to it, so that way you can render that data and have those specific properties. Oh, I refreshed it too soon. Sorry. Give that a second. And so like this is where it's running from scratch the comps again. So I just refreshed the comp so it could rerun it. But basically it'll show you how quick it's doing it. And so it's going out and grabbing all the data, it's crunching it, and boom, it's done. And you've got your comp score. So got the top 10 comps again, right? But basically you sort it by the sold price and you delete the last 4 or 5, whichever quantity it is that you want to get to. So you're looking at your ARV. And then once you have all that selected, again, maybe I'll look at 4 properties. I've got my calculation, right? I take it down to 3. I've got those numbers of what I'm working off of, right? But
Okay,
now,
so just to be clear here, that number right there that we're seeing is just a suggestion for using the calculators, right? It's not like
well, you're trying to produce a value of what could I sell this property for, right? Like that's what all these things are, is like, hey, this is what we think it could be, bought for or sold for, depending on what it is you're trying to comp, right? Like if you're trying to comp a current condition of what to buy for, you want to look at your photos, you want to kind of do your analysis to try to make sure, okay, this is not a highly fixed up property. So it's not going to be a top end comp that I'm going to want to look at. I'm going to want to take those top end ones out, look at lower end ones that are the better comps to use to get to a value that is, what is my purchase price going to be, right?
Yeah.
The ARV is now what's my resale price after I get to an investor, if I'm a wholesaler, or if I'm the investor myself and I wanted to run an ARV on a property. Like, let's do this. Let me just refresh the screen one more time. If I'm an investor that's doing fix and flipping, right? This is the other part of what our calculators have. So inside our calculator section, we have the MAO calculation, which helps for wholesalers to establish their assignment fee to ensure that they make money on their deal. Is there a deal? Is there a profit margin that makes sense for the investor? All of those calculations are here. You have all the data elements to play with to change, right? But then you also have a flip calculator. The flip calculator allows you to enter in, like, what am I going to buy this property for? What repair cost is going to be? How long am I going to hold this? How long is it going to take me to flip it? What's my interest rate on my loan if I have a loan? Like if I have a 14% loan, 18-month term, my property tax is based on my purchase price. Like all the calculations are done that I can adjust and edit, and then I can put in that ARV value, right? So if I have my ARV of $430 or 1,430,082, that was the value that we had for our ARV. And then we had the repair cost, I think it was $45 a square foot, right? So now I'm looking at this to say, okay, if I buy this property and I have to put 143 grand into it based on my ARV, this is what my profit will be. Even though the person who did it before was taking into account just a repair cost. They didn't know what my holding cost was going to be. Also, I had the MAO calculation in that. So like, let's go back to that. It erased it. Actually, no, I have it saved. Let's go back to that calculation. So remember, this is the purchase price, right? So I'm looking at the investor buying it for $964,762. So if I go to that property flip calculation and I put in the purchase price, because that's what he's buying it for, $964,762. Now that investor is looking at, what is this going to do for me on this property if I had to fix this up and it's going to take me 6 months to do? Oh, ARV went away. Let me fix that. 1,430,082. Beautiful. I now can see really what my cost is going to be for holding this property for however long it's going to take me to flip. If this is going to take me 13 months to flip, if it's going to be we said $45 a square foot repair, am I going to make money? Now looking from the flipper perspective, I am actually now running my numbers on how long it's going to take me. As a wholesaler, I don't know that person's experience. I don't know how long it's going to take them. I don't know what other costs and calculations they're going to have to put in. They may have a realtor. They may not have a realtor. They may have certain closing expectations, certain insurance they have to carry. Like all these different things are there that they're going to fill out to run those numbers to ensure, hey, based on your MAO, if I were to buy it for this property, am I really going to have a profit?
The real
So we have
numbers, the,
all of that.
the real numbers behind the deal, right?
Exactly.
Because a lot of people don't take those numbers into consideration, man. Especially the loan cost, the money cost, the utilities, the
Exactly.
insurance, the all the holding costs. So I
Exactly.
I like that very much, man. I like that very
So
much.
you can, if you're experienced wholesaler and you are learning how to run the numbers as an investor, like fixing and flipping the property, you have an ability to create your MAO and jump over to the flip to plug in those numbers to then now say, okay, now will it really produce a deal? And you can
Okay.
play with those numbers and you can see like if it's 12-month renovation, if it's a 5-month renovation, that's where that stuff gets into. Now take that deal further to show you more experience and more credibility to the investor that you're selling the deal to.
Awesome, awesome. I like it,
Yeah,
man. I like it.
it's not done, man. Like that's the
Is
beauty of
it,
this whole thing. So
is
now let's say I'm an investor who is looking at this property and realizing, okay, I can get an extra bedroom out of here. I can expand the square footage an extra 400 square feet to get it to maybe 3,500. I need to now get new comps based on what am I going to put into this renovation based on the cost and is it going to be worth it, right? So in our auto comp feature, you click this button, you see the characteristics of what the property is right now. I can come in and say, let's make it a 3,500 square foot property, 5-bedroom home, save. It's now rerunning comps based on the new calculations. So now I actually have the new calculations that it's running against with the new comps that match that criteria to get based on that, what would my ARV be if I fixed it up to now these top properties? So let me just go in here and didn't mean to do that. Let's go sold price, highest to lowest. And let's go and do, yep, perfect. So highest to lowest. And now I'm just going to take away these lower ones. Look at my top 3. So by adding 1 bedroom and less than 500 square feet, I added 215 square feet. I can bring that ARV up to 1.7 million from where it was 1.4 million before.
sheesh, $300,000 increase.
Just by adding the bedroom and the square footage. Now, I could even, let's say I didn't even want to add the square footage because it's big enough already. I could come in, take away the square footage, and put it back to where it was. So 3,195, but it's now 5 bedrooms. So I'm just adding a room somewhere, right? That's all I'm doing. And I'm just going to come in and we've got the comp sorts already on. Pull those off. So we're looking at the highest ones, top 3, 1.4. These are the top 3 selling properties identified what the ARV would be.
That's crazy, man. That's awesome.
I don't have to add the square footage on. Like the square footage is what's important to add.
Yeah,
To increase
that's
that.
what raises the price ideally.
Exactly.
That's
So
cool.
that's the benefit of that product. And then if you're not comfortable with the auto comping, go right ahead. Plug in the filters of like, I only want 6 months. I only want a half mile. I only want, it's 5 miles, 0.5 mile. I only want plus minus 30% or whatever range it is that you want. Save it. And we're running the comps now based on what your numbers are. But you see, I only got 4 properties that fell in that criteria. Like you will only get what matches what your results are. So notice how when I ran it the first time, I had 50 properties with auto comping. Filtering, I only get 4 because there's only 4 properties that fall within this criteria. I
That's
would have to
cool.
then go, oh, I didn't get enough. Let me expand it to now 12 months. Let me expand it to now 1 mile, right? Like you're having to now do this manually versus us just doing it for you and producing those comps.
The manual comps are also layout there, right there in that panel, or they're listed farther
Yeah,
down.
No, these are the manual ones. So again, I just ran these manually. And so again, all this is, these are the same type of comps. They are just hard coded to those filters of it has to be within a certain square footage range because I gave it a specific square footage, has to be within a specific distance, has to be within a certain time frame of sale. So all of those are exactly what are here under those filters. And there's only 4 properties that match it.
Gotcha.
But if I flip it to just give me the auto comps based on what I'm looking at, so 4 bedroom, 4 bath, 4 bedroom, 4 bath, save.
That's a great tool for him.
I now have 50 comps to look off of. And that's what it's about. It's finding as many comps as humanly possible that we can render scores on and then give you the top 50.
And now question, because this some Santos, he is here on the comments, and this is one of his questions. It kind of ties into what we're talking about, and it says, one day I was looking for a property on Connected Investor, and Connected Investor said that the property sold for 320,000, and Zillow said it sold for 220,000. Any reason why?
My only question would be the location. So
okay.
Was it in like a non-disclosure state and it sold on the MLS? And were you looking at our public record data or MLS data? So remember, there's a big difference with data sourcing, right?
Yeah.
So Zillow, if it's in a non-disclosure state, Zillow is only going to be referencing the MLS information because that's what's sold on the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
In Connected Investors, we have public record and MLS. In non-disclosure states, there is no sale price recorded on the deed. So what we try to do, because we don't just try to give people, sorry, we don't have it. If we know they took out a loan and we know what kind of loan it was, we estimated what kind of down payment that would have been based on the type of loan. So if it's an FHA loan, we might say, hey, it's 2.5% down payment. If it's a conventional loan, hey, it's about 10% down payment. If it's a VA loan, it's probably 0%. Right. So we kind of take those assumptions in to back into a purchase price, which is an estimated purchase price in public record. But in MLS, you're going to see the transparency of exactly what it sold for on the MLS. So like this property right here, I'm going to pull this property up just to look at it. So this is public record sale price, right? It sold on May 1st, 2025 for 1.4 million. I come over to that.
We can't see what you're looking at. Just we're still looking at Connected Investor.
Okay, it switched. Hold on. Let me see if I can undo the share. Give me 1 second. I think it because I shared the browser and not the window. Let's do entire window. Here we go. Share. Okay. Can you guys see my window again?
We're adding it now. 1 second. Okay, we're good to go.
All right, cool. So when you click on the property, it'll open up to a new tab, and that's why I didn't share it. And you can see right up here at the top, you got the purchase price and the sale date, right? This is public record information right here. When I go into the MLS section of Connected Investors, this is telling me from the agent that sold this property. May 1st, 2025, they have it in the MLS as 1,265,000 was the sale price. But in public record, this is the recorded deed, publicly recorded document. This is verifiable, and you can actually go to the county and grab it. Keep in mind, different sources of data. The agent says this price. The public record recorded document has this price. And you can actually even see the details on that by going into the mortgage and sales history. Here's the information here. So this is a cash sale for 1.4 million because there was no mortgage that was taken out for it, right? Arm's length. There's no loan that was on this property. This was 100% cash sale. And the data that is on this page with the MLS came from the agent that listed the property. The agent is the one that just entered into their database. This is what they entered it in. And this is the direct information that is verifiable and checked. And this is what Zillow would have because they are going off of what the MLS has, right? So it's super coincidental that I grab that exact example of that. But that's crazy. That's exactly what happens. You have something that comes from an agent one way, and you can even see, like, here's the agent information. And you know what? Let's even take a look. If I were to take this property, and let's just do a check. Zillow. That's the estimated value they have. But if I work my way down, they've got history. Here you go. Sold. So and look, the sold source, they're recognizing as this MLS as the sold source. But here's the pending sale. So this was the pending sale. And then here's the sold record. So that's where that sale came from. It's because that's the one that got pulled through to showcase that amount.
And how long did it sell? How long ago did it sell?
This one sold, the date was May 1st.
Okay, perfect.
And it was on market for 28 days.
That's crazy for 1.4.
Yep. So the idea is that you get access to the information. You have the verifiable information of what's MLS versus public record, which helps you establish that information. Our comp engine is super powerful to be able to run the data for you and make those quick analysis. And then also the ability to run scenarios, like, being able to auto comp hypothetical build, kind of ideas. Like if I were to make this a 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom, expand it by 1,000 square feet, what would my comps be? That is the power of what this drives.
That's
when
awesome.
you're dealing with filter comps, you're just getting what you see. That's it.
Yep.
So you could be saving MAOs and all those results from the calculations based also on those parameters that you input into the auto comp, like
Correct.
to identify what you're doing exactly in different scenarios.
Exactly. And so once you have all that stuff together and you have it all saved, you have this section over here. This is our notepad. And this is kind of like a little CRM, but it doesn't do the marketing stuff that you guys do. But it lets them manage their data and know what's going on with it inside the system, right? And so they can rate the property. Oh, I got to save it first. Let's save us as Charlotte Prop. Save. And so basically what this does is allows me to rate the property. So if I really like this deal and it's like a top 10 of my choices, I give it a high rating. If I'm not really that in love with it, I could make it a 2 rating. If I wanted to change the status to, hey, I reached out and made contact with the owner, we're in negotiating, right? So like all of that stuff is able to be identified that they've expressed interest. I'm evaluating, you work its way through the process. I can even assign, is this a wholesale deal, a fix and flip deal, the BRRRR method? Like what method is my exit strategy that I'm positioning this property for, right?
So you're creating a report of the exit strategy that you're doing.
I'm just saving like what's my plan with this? So when I come back to it, I know what the heck I'm trying to do here, right?
Gotcha.
So I can make notes on it of knowing like, left message, with owner, asking for follow-up next week, right? Just something simple. Add the note. Boom, it's on the system. It has that for reference.
That's really cool.
My calculation that I run on this property, I can save it and I'll have access to it.
Question, Tyler. If I want to export this property, is this information preserved in the export file?
What do you mean?
The notes, the
100%.
rating.
So everything that you do
cool.
when you put stuff in here, other than the media information, like media is like if I wanted to save a document or photos to the property, we don't have that as part of the export, but it's saved here so you can look at it and reference it. But when you go into my lists and you open up one of your properties that you need to, or one of your lists that you want to export, all of those data fields are in here, right? So your notes are going to be listed out, your ratings are going to be in there. Everything of what it is that you have is accessible. This one's taking a little while. There it goes. So you've got your rating. So obviously this is not the one of the list that I was actually on, but as I have the rating, they'll be on there. The status will be there. How many lists it's on. So that list stacking component, if I start to build different lists and the same properties on multiple, I can see which one's on the multiple lists. My buyability scores are all there, all the way down to you can actually customize it by changing what fields you want to look at, the order of how you want your fields to be. You can really customize every aspect of it, but then you have your notes. So if you made notes on the property, those notes are exportable to that spreadsheet. Everything you do is in here.
That's really cool.
So that is comping.
That's great. That's great.
That's
So
awesome. I'm excited to try it out, man. I didn't know it could do all this.
Yeah. It like the goal of what we're trying to accomplish is take data that is hard to understand and perform the action of what is needed fast, right? Like that's what it's all about. Like this is a warehouse building, but like if I were to be in North Carolina on any one of those properties and looking at comps, I'd be able to pull into any, I can zoom in on any market, right? And I can click on a parcel and it will tell me what it is. And I can open up that property and I can see the details on it. So we want data to be quickly accessible to create the things that are needed so you can like make informed decisions, create the right values, determine like, do I want to do an acquisition value or a disposition value, the ARV, all of that stuff. So we're trying to make it easier for you.
Got you. And now the property that you were originally looking for, that was one of the higher viability scores that you ran into, right here on this specific list.
Well, this is a list that I'm looking at very specifically, and this property has been saved. I have skip traced it. I have the information here. It's pulling the comps together. These are the comps, but this is a high viability.
I mean,
Yep.
what more do you need, man? You can literally sit down if let's say you're brand new on this, right? Let's say you're
Mhm.
in any part of not even just this country. You could be anywhere in the world, man, and do a list, skip trace it. This is gonna be the exact numbers that you need to be offering. And I mean, worst case scenario, you cancel the contract if something went wrong, right? Like, does it make sense? Like let's renegotiate or cancel the contract. But you could
Exactly.
literally be making offers in an hour after
Well,
you get the system.
let's break this down. Like literally, let's break it down from start to finish, right? If I'm coming in brand new, have never done anything in my life, right? I need to find leads to buy or leads to market toward, right? So I go in and I find motivated sellers. I've been looking at education. People talk about pre foreclosures, people talk about vacants, people talk about this, but I need to start somewhere. So I'm going to just pick something. And then I get the
Yeah.
list based on what I can afford. So if I can only do some kind of marketing that's going to cost me X number of dollars, I'm going to grab that quantity of what I can market toward. And then I'm going to load it into the CRM. Now that I have my list of leads that I'm now loaded into the CRM that I'm going to market toward, those leads are now auto marketed. Like they're being nurtured, they're being communicated with. And then all of a sudden my phone rings and they're like, "Hey, yeah, I got your material, I got your thing. Let's talk through. Let's see. Like I'm interested. What are you willing to offer? Okay, let me pull up your property. Let's talk it through it. Let's work through what's going on. When did you buy it? How much, like, have you owned it? I see that you bought it back in 1994, so you've owned it for a really long time. I see that, you are facing foreclosure. You're really talking through the data you're seeing and understanding their
Yeah.
scenario. Like, remember, Hector, you last call you mentioned like when you talk to the person is where you're getting into the psyche. You're trying to understand their motivation. You're trying to understand the things that data can't show you.
Right.
And when you get them to finally say, yeah, like I'm motivated to sell, you now are running your numbers to establish what I should make an offer for. If I'm running an MAO, I'm going to use my calculations based on an MAO offer. And then
And
now I make that offer to the person, and he's going to basically be yes or no. And then if he says no, it's like, okay, well, what would need to make it work? Let me take what you're willing to get, plug that in, and see if it actually gives me anything. Because if you say, oh, I want $40 million, like, no, I'm not going to make anything on that. Like, I can't do that deal. So, like, there's nothing that's going to happen. You could always lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can
that
always find a deal, but the numbers are what helps you build confidence.
that's amazing. That's amazing, Tyler. Because okay, what I'm picturing, I'm seeing like these two platforms from the outset, right? I'm an observant right now, and I'm not in real estate. I don't have experience, but I see the methodology, right? To, as you're saying, to go from zero to finish. Like right now, I feel I'm at a point where I could actually do it because it's like follow these steps. That's basically what these systems are doing. Follow these steps. Uh, Use connector investors. Run your comps. Get the numbers. run the reports, pull out the data from there, put it in the CRM, make the marketing campaigns, communicate, and now it's not only that, but we have the communities too.
Hmm.
Because at that point is where you start like, okay, what do I say now? What That's like the second step. Like what we're setting up is the initial stage for newbies that are like new in real estate. This fusion of two platforms is ready to go.
Exactly.
And on top
And
of that,
then,
like
yeah,
people that are experienced, this fusion too is super powerful to send the business to the next level.
exactly. It makes the person who's new learn how to get started with ease, and the person who's experienced make their job easier so they're not working so hard, right? Like you don't have to work hard when data and technology is there. And again, now that I get a property under contract, remember last time we talked about the cash buyers. So I now have a property locked under contract, one-click cash buyer. Now I'm literally running a search and finding how many people in that area would pay cash for this property, and I've got 111 leads that I can now market toward. So I have it under contract, and now I've got my list of buyers that I'm now going to prospect this out to. And contact each one of them saying, hey, I got a deal that you would buy. Here's the details. Here's the offering, or here's the price. And you blast it out to all of them once you get all their contact info. So that's
Amazing.
how easy it gets. Like literally, you're able to do everything from start to finish.
Right, right. It's I see like the wide vision of opportunities, like using data and using CRM, bro.
And then the best part about it, man, is right now they could get one for the, I mean, both for the price of one, right? To the end of the
Exactly,
month. So it's, I mean, to the end of the year, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, get in
Um,
now because this is not going to last. And
like
so we've got
like
the offer.
getting these tools, man. Like I just picture myself starting out to having this right now. It's just it's crazy, man. I can't really I can't tell you guys how easy that we're making it for you guys with the technology inside the CRM, the technology with Connected Investor now merging both. It's just it's
bro. But
unbelievable.
one question again, I like asking questions for you because you're using it and you're doing it right. Like the CRM, you come up with the system because you want to use it, right? You were
Mhm.
using like many different platforms,
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
not only that, but also platforms similar to Connected Investors,
Yep.
right? But now we have this fusion and it's working really well.
No, 100%. So we were able to get rid of about 13 systems that we used to use, which was skip tracing. It was a text system. It was a code cost system, the CRM itself. It was several numbers for several different phone numbers and different sites, and then it had uh, other systems to connect all the systems together, and then leads would get lost, and then we would lose things, and then shift them from one system to another, then skip tracing from one place, then pulling a list from another place and merging those together. And dude, I'm telling you, this is like just thinking about how much money we would save if we were to start today. It's unbelievable. Now, Tyler, real quick, one of the things that came up when we were skip tracing with the community the other day was, um, I know you're not pulling. So two things: we're not pulling LLC phone numbers yet through Connect Investor.
Right. Not
How
yet.
do we divide those? Like, how do we take those out from the very beginning before we even skip trace it? Because when people were pulling lists, they would pull lists with, like, let's say 800, 1,000,
Yep.
1,500 in it, and they would only come back with 300, 400 people. And then we would look up the people that didn't return numbers on, and they were majority of those
Corporations.
were
Yeah.
corporations, LLCs, trusts. So I think
S-
that's a very important one. And then
Super easy.
the other to piggyback on that same question is, how soon could we expect a separation of landlines and cell phone numbers? Just because the was it the DLC
Yeah.
is getting
Yeah,
super
strict.
strict with texting landlines.
I already did it. It's live.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Holy crap! Let's
this
go.
guy moves fast, and that was last week, right?
Yeah, last week we
That
did
was
Exactly.
that.
last week. We
Last
talked
week
about
it
it
got
last
brought
week.
up, and I 100% understand if if it's not identifying a landline or a mobile line, uh, like that's crucial, right? Like you
Yep.
need to know that information. So when
Perfect.
you export the data out of our system in the spreadsheet, you will see additional fields that say mobile line, landline. And
Okay.
so you'll see landline number one, you'll see mobile line number one, and you will identify which ones are which. And so only use the mobile to do your texting or ringless voicemails, and you'll be good to go.
Perfect.
And
And then
so,
and you still want to use the landlines. You code call
yeah,
those,
yeah,
right?
Right.
Yeah.
exactly.
So
You never
don't
know.
throw those away.
Like especially for targeting senior owners, like those people
Yeah.
definitely still have their landline. Or if you're in an
Naturally.
area where they just don't use cells because cells have really bad service,
Yep.
they have to have that stuff.
Perfect.
But as you talked about with the corporations, super simple. You come down to our ownership info, you go to owner type, and you pick that you only want individual people. So
Okay.
I break it up by 3 different individuals, right? These are all people, but individual means there's only one owner on the property and it's one person. So it's a first and last name of a person that owns that property, and there's only one of them.
Okay.
Multi-related means that there's 2 owners on the property and they have the same last name. I don't know if they're married. I don't know if they're brother and sister. I don't know cousins. I don't know any of that kind of stuff. Like we try to grab that kind of data, but it's so difficult to really tell them apart and say these are married couples that I just say they're related, right?
Especially on some
I like
specific
data
states out
transparency.
there.
Yeah, I hate it when people just make the assumption of like data. I really
Yeah.
like to give it very granular clarity.
Yeah.
And then multi non-related means that there's 2 people that own the property and they don't have the same last name.
So
They
can
could
we
be
pick all
married.
3 or no?
Yeah, pick all 3. You just simply
Okay.
boom, boom,
Perfect.
boom, and then
Perfect.
you're only
Okay.
getting those, and you don't get anything else.
Awesome.
So as
Perfect.
soon as you apply it, that gets the filters, and you get now targeting those audiences.
And then so that's awesome. Now to I guess the last question for today, because we're past the hour, but I think this one's really important. What is consistent of a skip trace? Like let's say we give people 2,500 skip tracing free skip tracing a month.
Mhm.
What is consistent? Like if it gives back a number and an email, just a number, or does it have to give you both? Or what would consider a skip trace record?
A skip trace record is if we produce any contact information. So that is
Okay.
a phone number and or an email. Now, keep
Okay.
in mind, remember what I talked about before is that a skip trace request in our system is ownership based. So if there's 2 owners, it's not 2 credits that's going to cost. It's going to be 1 credit for both owners to be checked, and we will return both if we find them. So you have the opportunity to get 2 owners because that's who's owned on the property, and all of the contact information we could find on both owners. So you get
Perfect.
phones and emails all in that one request at one time. If we do not have any data returned, it doesn't count against you. So you have that allotment to use, and if no data is found, check back in a month. Maybe we do in a month. We get our data regularly updated with all of our contact data.
That's
So it gives you an
awesome.
opportunity to check on that stuff. And then if we found it, we prevent you from doing it again and again and again on the same property because you don't need to keep checking. Like when a new record comes in and we see new contact info, we'll make it unlocked so then you can skip trace it again. We have all that data in house.
Perfect. Dude, it's super easy, man. This is crazy. So you get free data for 2,500 records a month.
With
You can
3
call, you
legacy
can
features.
text with the CRM, with phone numbers, the landline breakdown. Like, dude, and let's see if a connected investor and legacy fusion can put this together. But I bet you can pick us up, put us up anywhere in not even in this country, anywhere in the world. Give us $100 and a laptop, and I guarantee we can close.
Yeah.
We can make $1 million in a year, but let's keep it the first 100,000 in 2 months,
I
30
mean,
days, 60
we've
days.
done it, man.
Yeah,
We've gone on tours,
and
and
close
we
deals
keep,
while we were on
yeah,
tour. So yeah, it's crazy, man. It's
and we
crazy.
didn't have
Beauty of
connected
the
investors
internet. Now you can
like
do
that.
anything anywhere.
Now,
Yeah. So, Tyler, appreciate the time. I
Yeah.
think we're past the hour, but definitely, let's get some more talking points. And come up with a good name, and
Yeah, for
let's
sure.
keep growing this thing. If you are interested in more information, let us know in the comments. Send us a message. I would love to get you onboarded today. Like I said, if you sign up soon. I don't know how much longer we'll be running this promotion, but you get Connected Investor and Legacy Fusion for one price till the end of the year with 2,500 free skip trace records, and 10,000 uploads, a bunch of other stuff. Hector, last words. Advice for the people watching.
No, just I'm amazed of this conversation that we're having. Like everything is clicking, is making sense for investors to make a decision to start right now. To start right now. That's what we're providing. Opportunities for investors to start using the systems and get straight into real estate. That's the opportunities I see we're working on. And also something to address, and Tyler just said that last week we addressed a point and Tyler this week already has it. I think that's
That's
something super
crazy.
important, bro. Super important to let our communities know that we're working intensely in
Yeah.
enhancing our products. Like we pay attention, we hear the feedback, and we just try to make the things better and
Yeah.
faster.
Now, obviously, not everything that people come to us is going to be something that gets changed. It has to make sense for the overall community system, the flow of the information, right? But if it's something that's valuable information like that,
Yeah.
then the goal is to make the system the best system that it can
Which
be. So,
makes me really, really, really excited to be here talking to Tyler. Yeah.
awesome, Tyler. Well, now
Happy to
on
help.
your end, I guess any last advice, anything you want to say to the public before we wrap this one up?
The biggest thing is just, data is power and technology is there to make
I
things
like
easier for you, right? So our whole goal at Connected Investors is to take that data and make knowledge quick, easy, like easy to understand, easy to navigate, easy to do, right? It shouldn't be complicated. Yes, you could do it complicated, you can make it complicated, but it could also be simple, right? Like think motivation in general. It doesn't have to be something crazy. It could just be as simple as a property that's vacant is motivation. A property that is facing foreclosure is motivation. Somebody who is a tired landlord, somebody who's a senior owner, they're all motivations. But then you can add complexity to it of how long they've owned it, what kind of property it is, how much equity they have, do they have any additional liens? Like everything that you can build just stacks on top of that simplicity. And it's just do what you can for what you know.
Perfect. So yeah, from my side, same thing, guys. I believe that knowledge is the only thing that cannot be taken away from you. So I would take as much information as you can, but take massive action behind that, because you can learn all you want, but if you don't take the action of making sure that you're taking advantage of all the opportunities given to you, then we're just kicking the ball around with no real goal in mind. So looking forward to connecting with all you guys. Looking forward to see how big this can go with Connected Investor and Legacy Fusion. I think we can do some big things, and I like the idea that of building an empire with your laptop, right? So literally from anywhere in the world, get your freedom back, and let's take it to the next level, guys. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. Have a good one.